Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to jump back in time to 16th century Korea to unlock a really cool classical poem. And you know what? Tucked away inside these ancient characters is a message that's surprisingly modern, all about ambition, corruption, and the search for integrity.
Okay, let's dive right in. So here it is. This is the poem we're looking at today, written by a scholar poet named Yi Dal. Now, I know, at first glance it might just look like some beautiful, mysterious text, but trust me, by the time we're done here, you're going to see it for what it really is, a sharp and totally timeless piece of social commentary. So let's start breaking it down.
So we actually start with a little bit of a puzzle. The poem's title is Muje, which, in Korean, literally just means untitled. It's almost like the poet, Yi Dal, was saying, hey, this thing doesn't need a fancy title. The words speak for themselves. So let's do that. Let's step into his world and try to see what he saw.
All right, time to put on our detective hats and decode the first two lines one character at a time. This is where the poet really sets the scene, painting this incredibly vivid picture of a chaotic street in old Seoul.
First up, we've got this character. In Korean, it's pronounced cha, and it means place or location. But here's the cool part. The poet doesn't just use it once. He repeats it, cha, cha. That repetition immediately gives you this feeling of everywhere you look. So what does he see everywhere? He sees ma jok. Ma means horse, and jok means tracks or footprints. But think about it. These aren't just any tracks. They represent constant, hurried movement. It's like the signature of a city that is always on the move.
So when you put it all together, the first line reads, everywhere I encounter many horse tracks. But you get it, right? This isn't really about traffic. It's a symbol for a society completely consumed by ambition, with everybody rushing around trying to get ahead.
Now, check this out. The second line starts the exact same way as the first, with a repeated character. This one is hang, and it means to go or to walk. So by saying hang, the poet creates this sense of continuous, non-stop motion. He's not just standing there watching, he's right in the middle of it, walking through all this chaos.
Okay, this next term is where things get really interesting. We see Geojin. Cha means a cart, or more like a chariot, and jin means dust. So literally, it's the dust getting kicked up by all the chariots speeding through the city. But, as you're about to see, this is way more than just dirt. So the full line reads, walking on and on I try to avoid the chariot dust. Now that verb, to avoid, that's the key. He's making a conscious choice, a real effort to distance himself from this dust. And that's our big signal that this chariot dust is a really powerful metaphor. And this is where we get to the absolute core of his message. The chariot dust isn't just physical grime. No way. It symbolizes all the moral filth of the world, the corruption, the greed, the messy business of climbing the social ladder. Our poet wants to walk right through this world without getting dirty, to hold on to his integrity. So just when we think we've got the scene figured out, busy city, thoughtful poet, the poem takes a huge turn. In these last two lines, Yi Dal basically pulls back the curtain and reveals a hidden and much more critical layer to everything he's seeing. What looks like a simple nature scene is actually the heart of his entire critique. First, he anchors us in a specific place, Jangan. Now, that was the name of an ancient capital city in China, but in Korean poetry, it was often used as a more classical, elegant way to refer to their own capital city. In this case, Seoul, the center of all the power and culture.
And here's where the poem gets just so clever. The poet talks about Haryu. On the surface, that just means flowers and willows. Sounds lovely, right? But in classical literature, Haryu had a very well-known second meaning. It was basically a code word for the world of kisaeng, the high-class courtesans and entertainers. It was a world of luxury, indulgence, and decadence.
So, who's hanging out in this world of flowers and willows? Well, the poet doesn't leave it up to our imagination. He calls them out directly, Geojin. This is an unmistakable term for the absolute elite of society. We're talking high-ranking government officials and the nobility, the whole shebang.
And now, the final, biting punchline comes together. Among the capital's flowers and willows, half belong to high officials and nobles. He's pretty much saying that half of this lavish, decadent entertainment district is basically owned and operated for the pleasure of the very people who were supposed to be governing with integrity. It's a burn. So, now that we've decoded all the characters and the secret meanings, let's just step back and look at the whole picture that Yi Dal was painting. It really is a masterpiece of quiet rebellion, using this beautiful, elegant language to deliver a seriously sharp critique.
So what this all really means is that this poem is not just a scene from a city. It's a powerful takedown of elite hypocrisy. You have the common people rushing through the chariot dust, while the powerful are off indulging themselves. By showing us both, the poet is praising a different kind of life, one of contentment, far, far away from the capital's moral corruption.
Okay, so it's a clever poem from the 16th century. That's cool. But why should we care about it today? Well, because the poet's critique of materialism, of hypocrisy, of this relentless pressure to succeed, it honestly feels like it could have been written yesterday.
At the end of the day, this poem is a timeless reminder to look past all the surface-level noise. By exposing how empty the rat race really is, all those endless horse tracks and chariot dust, Yi Dal is encouraging us to really question what our own society tells us is valuable. He's asking us to think about a more noble, more contented way of life, one that's defined by integrity, not by just frantically chasing power and pleasure.
And that really just leaves us with a final thought to chew on. In the 16th century, the poet saw the chariot dust of his world and chose to walk a different path. It makes you wonder, right? In our modern world, with all its digital noise and constant pressure, what's our chariot dust? And how do we find our own way to walk with integrity?